He'd be able to get the job done in Ole Miss. Another game on the road. Alabama's been horrible on the road this year. They lost 2 big games. Tennessee, of course, LSU. Hopefully they can get the job done. Ole Miss is sitting here waiting to defend themselves, to try to make a case for them to be able to make that SEC title game in Atlanta. But I think it's all but over. SEC West might go to LSU here. We might be able to punch that ticket. Make sure to leave your comments, leave your takes. We're going to be going live here for the next 30 minutes to an hour or so, breaking down the game, breaking down the SEC title game predictions, and just breaking down the future of college football. But to start things off, Brian Kelly, another good coaching performance. At the end, you're going to have games like this, especially on the road, especially in the morning, and especially in the cold. That's a lot of different factors that LSU hasn't been able to implement themselves in this year. But Brian Kelly, he was able to get the job done in very tough situations. I'm glad we got Matt House, the brains of that defense, sitting up there in the sky. He's very experienced. I got to talk to Matt House this past Tuesday, and he was talking about how he's not too shy in cold environments, and he's had his fair share of experience in them. He coached for the Kansas City Chiefs as well. Got him a ring in Kansas City, so he's tried, tested, he's proven to be ready in that cold. He's forged through that tundra. But going on to the offensive side of things, Mike Denbrock had a little rough patch. Through the first half, LSU had 7 pass attempts, 26 rush attempts. It was a little rough at times, but all in all, they were able to squeak out of there. John Emery, he did good, I believe. He did good for the most part. He had a big, explosive 32-yard rush. A couple times where, I'm holding my breath worrying on if he's going to keep that ball in that basket. It came out, but look, he did the things he needed to do. He got down, he got that knee down, and it wasn't a fumble at the end of the day. So I'm glad that he was able to do that. The guys are going crazy. They're all on Instagram Live right now. You got Josh Williams, just started an Instagram Live. I saw averaging 6.4 yards per carry. He had 122 yards, crossing a century mark, getting in the end zone on a big boy run, another big boy run. Josh Williams has really implemented himself into this running back room. At the beginning of the year, if you would have told me he'd be our RB1, I would have scratched my head a little bit. I thought for sure we would have been in a Armani Goodwin era, but Josh Williams has done what he needs to do. He's learned what he needs to learn, and he's got that confidence. And I think seeing the way Noah runs, seeing the way John runs, it's not that they're not confident. It's not that they're not, what we expected. It's just Josh Williams is a whole lot better. Josh Williams has been the underdog his whole life, and he's proven everyone wrong once again here in college football. He's going out here and going crazy.
They were even commenting on that during the game, man, saying how he came up. That people were saying he was too small to really go to a big school and succeed. Look at the man now. I mean, he's performing great. He had a couple, that big run. I mean, it was definitely an impressive performance from Josh.
I got to interview Josh Williams on Tuesday, and I asked him a couple questions about the different things that he does on the field that not a lot of people get to really realize and honestly don't get to appreciate that much. You got Josh Williams doing the blocking. You got him even helping on some type of field call, but in an area of LSU's offense that needs the most help, it's pass protection. LSU's offensive line is great. They got a lot of good talent on there that is going to blossom and be superstars going forward, but as of right now, they do have their moments, and sometimes those moments, lead to Jaden Daniels getting sacked 7 times in a game. That's a rough stat. You want to keep your quarterback healthy, especially down this final stretch of the season, especially now when we're about to punch our ticket to Atlanta, and we're about to go face Stetson Bennett and the Georgia Bulldogs, defending national champions. Kirby Smart, he has a pretty good system. Georgia's out here doing great things. They got the job done against Tennessee last week, so it's not like this team isn't anything like they were last year. There were times against Mizzou and different pieces throughout this year where that offensive line kind of let some defensive pressure in. So that's what gives me a little glimmer of hope here. We're going to the SEC title game with a stacked defensive line. We got incredible talent. Perk 40 is a pest. I mean, I couldn't imagine having to play against someone like that.
He's in that freaking backfield or pressuring somebody.
I think that Harold Perkins has the potential to be the number 7 for LSU, to be that guy, to push that pace and get to that next level of excellence. He really has that type of game-changing skill set, like a Tyrann Mathieu or a Patrick Peterson or Kayshon Boutte, Jamar Chase. The list goes on and on. Derek Stingley. The number 7s at LSU hold a very special skill set and hold a very special ability, and that ability is just to change the game and take over. You see Harold Perkins goes out there and shows shades of Aaron Donald going out winning, saying, "Ring us, man, ring us." Put that in the SEC title game, bro. He's stopping the game when it matters most. So if we're gonna go ahead and look at the defensive side of things, Harold Perkins with 8 total tackles, and what's insane to me is that the freshman came away with a 4-piece of sacks. Incredible effort out there.
I mean, it was looking crazy.
Greg Penn with the 9 tackles. He got in the backfield a couple times with 2 tackles for losses. Micah Baskerville with a great effort. Savion Jones, great effort. The guys really went out there. It's good to see the defense hitting their stride and going out and firing on all cylinders, really. Holding them to 10 points, especially when the offense is putting them back out there right away. The guys are gassed. The guys are playing a lot more snaps than they've been used to as of recent, at least. We're averaging upwards to high 30s. You go out here and score 13 points. It's a lot different. It's a big change of pace, and that was a tall task for the Tigers to climb today. But Matt House got his guys in order, and Harold Perkins stole the show. But shout out B.J. Ojolari, man. B.J. Ojolari showed up, and he's been having big game after big game after big game. I can't even imagine what B.J. Ojolari's draft stock is doing as of right now.
It's got to be looking pretty, man.
You got LSU on the come up in terms of who's D-line you, man. We got some beasts down there. You got Ali Gay, BJ, Harold. You got Mason, J-Roy. You got everybody. Savion Jones, Makai Wingo. I mean, there's an endless amount. Like, yeah, we got wide receivers stacked. We got running back stacked. But at the end of the day, they got D-line stacked, too. And that's the heart and soul of this team. You win the game in the trenches. The offensive line's looking good as well. The recruit class coming in is going to be able to keep boosting it. And even LSU recruiting quarterbacks has been great. They go ahead and get Nussmeier. You can even say they recruited Jaden Daniels. You get him through the transfer portal. You get Walker Howard. You get Ricky Collins, you get Colin Hurley. You get a lot of big-time athletes that are going to change the future as we know it for LSU football. We've never been in an era where, success has come this quick, that recruits have come this quick, and not only have come this quick, but come in bunches of 4 or 5-star recruits. Harold Perkins is a 5-star recruit, one of the best. Joe Tessitore is claiming him to be the best college football linebacker.
They were praising that, man. It was definitely good to see.
He deserves that praise, man, because he's going out there and he's putting on a big show. You had Arkansas put 2 quarterbacks out there on the field. Neither one of them broke the century mark in terms of passing yards. Both of them got sacked a good bit, couple of times. Man, I think it really going to be interesting to see how Alabama's going to handle Ole Miss, because you always hear, Nick Saban doesn't lose back-to-back games, but at the end of the day, Nick Saban's never been in this type of predicament. Nick Saban has never looked fate in the face and wondered if the dynasty is over. Nick Saban's never gone to Tiger Stadium and lose after going to the Tennessee Stadium and losing, Rocky Top bullcrap over there.
Sad, man.
I mean, now you're going to Oxford. Lane Kiffin's a big rival, former coach on his staff, and I bet he wishes he had him right now. That staff is like Bill O'Brien is probably not Bryce Young's best friend right now, if I had to guess. There's definitely some interesting moments going on there. Make sure to leave the comments in the chat of what you think is going to go on during the Bama game, Ole Miss game, your predictions. My prediction for this LSU game was a whole lot higher of a score.
It's definitely true, man. Coming down the stretch like that, man, I did not think it'd be a 3-point game, that's for sure.
Yeah, LSU's been putting us in a lot of close back and forth games, making it a little worrisome as we've grown into the later portions of this season. But they've been able to grow, they've been able to come together, they've been able to get the job done in the end. We got another W, and we're about to punch that ticket to the SEC title game. I think if Jaden Daniels can keep that confidence going forward, even after, I'm not going to say a rough performance, but not necessarily his best performance. He managed what he could. It was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of just unfortunate adversity that was faced on him. But, he threw that interception. It was kind of a questionable decision to me because, he's running a run-pass option play. You're going to say no to the run, which is the run of the middle with John Emery. You're going to say no to that, but then you're going to take the pass, you're going to go look, and you're going to hit him right back. Now you're going – I mean, you already said you don't want to go up the middle because of what the coverage is looking like, but then you're going to throw the ball right in that spot. Didn't look like the best throw. Linebacker came over the top, took it. Yeah. Thank God it was a 3-and-out coming afterwards. It could have been a lot.
Tall, man.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. The defense definitely did do their thing, and Harold Perkins and BJ and that whole defensive line group, J-Roy, Ali, they all stole the show, man. It was a really good performance, and these guys are just stringing together performance after performance after performance. That rushing game was muted a good bit too. We were supposed to show up in the run game and not let anyone push us over, bully us, get big. None of their running backs hit the 50-yard mark. So we were able to hold them all to right under 4.5 yards per carry. The receiving game, you had Landers get active. He had a 40-yard dot, but other than that, there was really no explosivity at all on the field. We had Josh Williams and John Emery on our side get some long balls. Kayshawn with a huge catch to bring us inside the red zone.
Clutch, man.
But other than that, this game was pretty cut and dry with back and forth, going back. But hey, that Jay Bramblett punt fake, I don't know if that was in the plan.
Excited,
I don't know if that was in the plan, if he wanted to fake the punt, or if it was just a bad snap and he had to turn one loose. But it gets called back by the refs. Refs are out there doing their magic.
When they're Magic.
You could have seen Jay Bramblett probably get that game ball if he gets that first down right then and there. But hey, we get the job done at Fayetteville. It was rough. I thought it was going to snow at first. I seen last night they
You
were
saw at
talking
the
about it.
beginning when they were showing all the ice on the field.
Yeah.
Man, I did not know it was that cold.
LSU was drinking chicken broth on the sideline to stay warm throughout the
Chicken broth and
contest.
coffee I had seen.
It definitely was a big test for the guys. They're going to be a lot happier in Baton Rouge when we play UAB this weekend. It's going to be a good change of pace. LSU's breaking out of that SEC consistent schedule. You know, they've had a lot of tough games. We've always seen graphics of LSU's tough schedule coming forward, and they got all this big string. Well, guess what? We handled it pretty well. We took down everyone, just about everyone that the country didn't think we could take down. We
That
did
is
what
the
we had to
truth.
do. We handled it. We only lost one of the tough SEC games, and at the end of the day, we're undefeated in the SEC West. We took down a lot of big names. We did what we had to do. We just got to make sure that Alabama gets the job done and Nick Saban doesn't lose back to back like people
Man,
are saying. You know, it could happen though. It could
it
be.
feels crazy to even think about.
It could definitely happen. I think that Bryce Young is doing his thing, but maybe maybe his injury is a lot more serious than people are willing to give it. I don't know. The number 9 team in the country playing the number 11 team. Go ahead and
Yeah,
you're just never gonna forget that rivalry. You're never gonna forget the Iron Bowl coming up for Alabama. They've never entered the Iron Bowl
dude,
with multiple
imagine.
losses in the past 10, 12 years. So that's another tipping point potentially for the Alabama football team. Um, Imagine Nick Saban loses right here. Ole Miss
Dude,
loses in Auburn, goes out of the year 8-4.
the legacy is gonna be tarnished, bro.
A lot of recruits would probably flip. I mean, Alabama's never been in a situation like this where they could have a coach like Brian Kelly come in and recruit the South on an insane amount.
That's true.
Tennessee, when Tennessee's going ahead and getting big recruits out of Louisiana, they got Matthews, they got a couple of different guys. So now they're kind of making their presence felt a little bit. But I would sit here and worry about Auburn's next head coach if they can make a splash higher and in the same state, Alabama, if they're going to make a little bit of a
Dude,
competition of that recruiting, it could definitely jeopardize the future of Alabama and Nick
the whole
Saban.
dynasty, man.
I think the problem we're seeing here in Alabama is that Nick Saban's getting a little bit older than he'd like to think. He's 71. A lot of responsibilities have probably been pushed on to other coaches. At the end of the day, it just might be a little bit not necessarily out of his control as much as it used to be, but it might just be the little nuances of the game that Nick Saban were able to correct. He's not there for maybe
That
he's
is
got to
true.
be off his feet as much. Who knows what's going on in that Alabama room? Maybe the team's just not disciplined and it's coming down and we haven't seen it. It's hard to guess and put your finger on something like this, especially on the outside in. Ole Miss sitting here charging down the field. Oh man, we got Elias Ricks showing up, trying to get some late tackles on the play count here. Alabama, Ole Miss live on CBS. Big game for college football.
It's
This is
true.
going to change a lot. If Alabama can get the win here and push Ole Miss out of SEC playoff contention or SEC championship
Right.
contention, that pretty much puts LSU in an ultimatum of do you want to get in the college football playoffs? How bad do you want to get in? Because at the end of the day, Georgia is going to walk in there almost guaranteed a spot at number 1 in the country. They probably
Yeah.
wouldn't fall outside the top 4 with a loss to LSU. So I'm not going to say that Georgia won't have that same drive, but we did see Alabama take Georgia out last year in the SEC title game when they were in a similar predicament. The mindset might be the same. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see this unfold. If
Yeah.
LSU can take it against Georgia, that also now plays to last year as well. What if they replay LSU and they regroup? Because when Georgia regroups, they go ahead and get the job done. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of interesting things to think about. Stetson Bennett's a really calculated quarterback with a chip on his shoulder. He's ranked really low in the draft mock.
Crazy to think about.
He's very accurate.
Smaller.
Yeah, won a national championship as of last year. I would have thought that the guy would be a lock for the first round, but this might be his chance to prove it. That SEC
Yeah.
title game might be his chance to prove it in a situation where he'll be pressured and he'll face a lights out defense and lights out defenders such as Harold Perkins and B.J. Ojolari and
It's gonna
the
be
whole
crazy to see
squad.
how he handles that pressure.
But they get the benefit of the doubt of playing in Georgia. He won't have to go that far. He'll get to go next door, go into Falcon
It's
Stadium,
true.
and pretend to be the Dirty Birds for a second. I think that LSU. I mean, they'll be able to make something happen here. They'll be able to. I think if they can get pressure on Stetson Bennett, if they can somehow avoid the pressure that they're going to face against Georgia, then they'll be able to make something work. But I'm worrying that offensive line, our offensive line, LSU Tigers, might get overwhelmed here.
It's gonna
It's
be a lot.
it's a big, tall task to climb. It's one of those things where it's like this defense has slowed down the best of the best. They've slowed down Tennessee. I mean, sure, they scored and passed 40 points, but when it mattered, they stopped them.
Right,
When it
right.
mattered, they stopped them. They got the job done. And Tennessee went out and kind of, before we had our stripes, put a whooping on us, but still, it's just lingering in the back of my mind that if
Hmm.
Georgia can get the job done against Tennessee, I'm just wondering what the game's going to look like because of what happened with us in Tennessee. I'm under the impression that LSU's learned a lot and they're going to be able to transition what they've learned onto the field when it comes time to play the game. But at the end of the day, that's speculation. So what's going to
Right.
happen when we see if the proof is in the pudding, when we see it live out there, when we've driven to Atlanta and when we've bought the ticket, when we've sat in the seat, what's going to happen? Because I mean, you can only talk and hype it up for so much, but when that ref blows that whistle and that kickoff hits the air, that's when you're really gonna find
Yeah,
out what happens.
that is the
So,
truth.
I mean, it can go one of two ways. We can go into Georgia and punch them in the mouth, and they get knocked down early, and we just completely suck the life out of the stadium, turn it into our stadium, and go home with another SEC
What's up?
champion. But Brian Kelly in his first year has proven a lot of people wrong. People are wondering if he can win the big games, if he can compete against these guys on a game to game, week to week level. I think he can. I don't think he's tiring himself out, tiring the staff out, tiring the guys out. They all seem bought in. They all seem, energetic still. They seem like, Major Burns told me he thinks that LSU's hitting their stride at the perfect time. How a lot of teams hit their stride early on and they might hit it and miss, but these guys are going through the thick of it and also at the utmost morale, utmost confidence that they've ever been at. I mean, honestly, that this entire team has ever been at several points of their career. Even last season, you had tough moments and you didn't really know how they were going to get out of it or this, that, or the other. The past couple of years for LSU have been up in the air. Now it looks like things are really the wrongs are being right. Brian Kelly's putting them on the right track.
Yeah.
LSU's looking to be a force in the SEC for sure, a lot quicker than people would have thought.
It's definitely impressive seeing BK like that, man. Beginning of the year, like you were saying before, man, people are asking whether or not he can win the big games. Here we are.
Here we
Here
are
we are.
beating Alabama at home, and now I mean, if you would have said to me after the Florida State loss that this team's sitting here waiting for Alabama to get a dub over Ole Miss to punch that ticket to Atlanta, I would have been in shock. I mean, I'm still sitting here in
Yeah.
shock now that this is a possibility. But LSU's put in the work. They've done what they needed to do. They've looked at the hate. They've looked at the rejection. They've looked at. I mean, even Jaden Daniels. I mean, what a comeback
So much
story
noise from people coming up talking about Jaden Daniels, man,
with
saying he can't do this, he can't do that.
100%. Writing them off from the get go. I mean, it was pretty funny. I looked this morning at one of the videos that I posted during fall camp asking the fans to rank where they thought Jaden Daniels would be, man. And the general consensus was third. And some were even saying last. A couple people were wondering
Really?
why he was transferring all this stuff here. I'm looking
Man,
back at it now, like man, the tide has really turned. People have really,
the whole
and,
state's
and
behind him
I'm
now.
I'm glad they've changed their tone and changed their narrative and gave him a chance. But at the end of the day, it's not always what it looks like from the outside. There's a lot of
That's
things
true.
that go on the inside, whether it be the scheme, whether it be the play calling, whether it be the offensive line. Yeah, there's times where Jaden needs to throw, but at the same time, there's also times where he needs to sit on it and try to make it work with his best area is
Right.
running. And it'd be just completely foolish, in my opinion, to just negate that when we've seen him completely. I mean, dude, he caused an earthquake in Tiger Stadium with his legs,
I was about to
scored a
say, man,
touchdown.
one play in overtime.
One
That
play.
one play.
One play. What an answer. Hitting Mason Taylor when it counts. I have nothing to complain. We got Zendale Moore in the chat saying Harold Perkins is a dog. Crazy we have him for 2, 3 more years. Yeah, it is insane. I hope we'd be able to have him for another 3 years. I hope that he'd be able to be. Dude, he's got the eye of the tiger on his shoulder, tattooed in him for life. I could definitely see him staying the 4 years. Harold Perkins, Perk 40. I'm one of his biggest fans, dude. I've been
Perk
singing his
40.
praises, dog. He's going insane. If you did an X-ray of Harold Perkins' chest, you'd see he's got that dog in him. He'd had that dog in him through and through. Perk 40's playing like an NFL ready athlete already. He's a
As a
freshman.
true freshman, man.
People were questioning. I mean, not even people. We had Brian Kelly wondering if they'd be able to put him out there and saying the reads are too much for him. I'm glad that they found him a perfect area to go in and they integrated him
Hmm.
perfectly in the scheme and base coverages. As of the Alabama game, he was installed in the base package and it's just like they'll never turn back. They'll never look back. Can you imagine if we had him against Florida State or even against Tennessee a lot? It
Yeah,
it could have been a game changer.
it's definitely the truth, man. They have some more game changers too, man. Can't forget about Mason Smith.
Yeah, Mason Smith. Shout out to the friend of the show. Hopefully, the rehab's going good, and Hopefully everything, that comeback season next year is going to be insane. If you're going to put Perk on the
Insane.
side of Mason Smith and ask them to do some damage, they're going to be a dynamic duo for a
It's
long
true,
time.
man. It's true.
I would hate to be a quarterback lining up in front of these guys when they're going through probably the biggest year of their careers next season.
Yeah.
After this huge of a year, after the team gets a huge jolt of energy, big recruiting class, I'm sure they're gonna like fine tune all the little details. They're gonna knock all the rust out of the game plan and last year's training. BK in his first year of digesting the SEC, digesting a new team, and not really knowing what to expect has made it work. So let's give BK another year. Not only does he have SEC experience, not only does he have wins, potentially Coach of the Year awards. Who knows? Maybe an SEC title. So a lot more things for BK to do. He's going to be able to reflect, have a lot more chemistry with the guys moving forward. Next season's LSU Tigers are going to look a lot scary. We'll debut in the
It's
top
true.
top five for sure. I mean,
What?
we're going to have to debut there after the recruiting class we're putting on. LSU is where you want to be when you're an athlete. Look at women's basketball. Kim Mulkey a couple days ago pulling in the #1 recruiting class in the country. You want to go to LSU. You want to be in the heart of the SEC, quite frankly.
Yeah.
They're putting together a big culture change. You got Zendel saying, again, BK's really crushing it, I think, of this team when it really has its players next season. Yeah, right. I agree, man. We're thinking that next year Brian Kelly's gonna have a mega squad. He's gonna have a monster. He's building an insane scheme. If we can keep these coaches, if we can keep everybody on the same page at the same time and building the talent like we've been able to do, it'll be great. That offensive line will
It's
be
true.
figured out.
The quarterback's coming in, man. The future's bright.
The future's very bright. And I mean, even when you got guys like Kayshawn or Jure who might have to sadly leave, and it'll be
Yeah.
tough to see him go, but we still got a lot of guys who are going to
Oh
be
yeah.
here. You got Malik, you got BT, you still got Jack Besh, you got Chris Hilton coming off an injury. You got a lot of guys that you can look forward.
It's gonna be crazy to see those guys succeed in the NFL. I mean, you could tell just by watching them, they're built like that.
Kayshawn Boutte showing up when it matters most. He does the big things. He does everything. Honestly, even the beginning of the year with a slow start, it could have just been him adjusting to all the coverage he's getting. He's
I was
never
about to say,
been in the limelight.
like you were saying, bro. It's hard to, when you're double teamed like that, you just kind of get froze out.
Yeah, you get froze out and it makes you question, is the ball even going to come to me? I mean, look what's in front of me. Why would he want to chance it?
That
But
harms the mentality.
yeah, and every now and then, like a Florida State moment, you'll see him kind of miss one go by. It happens in the blink of an eye. Maybe it wasn't the play call. Maybe he didn't think. Maybe they tried to audible and they couldn't hear. Who knows? There's a lot of moving parts, especially in an offensive scheme, especially in a new offensive scheme. You got Jaden Daniels telling us as of a couple of weeks ago that he's just now feeling like he's getting in a good rhythm with the guys. He's been putting in the time after practice with Kayshawn, with Malik, with Jure, with all these different guys to try to get that chemistry down pat, get the routes down pat, and just have a feeling out process to know that when he looks down the field in a certain spot that he'll be here or he'll be there. And I mean, like, just develop that dynamic duo relationship like a Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers or a Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I mean, you want to know, you want to be able to playmaker like you can in Madden. You know what I'm saying? These
Right.
guys are developing the nuances of quarterback wide receiver duos. And I mean, even the running backs are still developing that. You got Josh Williams filling out some pretty big shoes. LSU's running back rooms have been heavy.
Stacked,
They've
man.
been heavy. You got Leonard Fournette. I mean, even last year, Tyron Davis Price, who holds the school single game rushing record. You got a lot of big movers and shakers.
Can't forget about Clyde, man.
Clyde, you got Darrell Williams. You got a lot of big guys who have made a lot of big impacts when the time has really, really mattered most. I have to say, screw himself and they didn't take the three off the turnover. Yeah, Arkansas, they were trying to get gritty at the end, bro.
It's
They
true. They're
they were
trying to show them stripes, and
they
it
were
didn't really
trying
work out.
to go all or nothing, and that's what happens. When we were going for two against Alabama, I was kind of nervous showing them cards and going all in
That's
at the
scary,
poker
man.
table. But at the end of the day, it worked out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Arkansas, they kind of just walked in here and they did what they had to do on the defensive side in a sense where they got to Jaden Daniels and they kind of got that pressure and huddled the offense,
They
but
did
the
do a
offense couldn't
solid job.
respond.
Yeah.
They had a backup quarterback. They had a lot of quarterback problems. They having to move guys in and out, see what worked best. If they had KJ in, though, it could have been a
That
different
was
game.
that was in my head just now. I mean, I was wondering like that would be a scary, scary matchup. I still think Perk 40 would have came out and performed though.
Yeah, I think that pressure that the defensive line was putting on the Arkansas guys, I think that
You
it would
witnessed
have
it
been
last week
universal.
against Bryce. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
Bryce
would have
is,
been universal.
cut from that cloth.
I think Mike Denbrock, the first half, the way that we were drawing up them those totals, the 26 or 27 rushing attempts to the 7 passing attempts. It's a little it's a little interesting, especially when you got Noah Kane running 3-4 times in a row in the red zone, and it winds up being a fourth down. We wind up having to kick the field goal, go up 6-3. Sure, we get the lead, but at the end of the day, we won 6.
Right.
Is Jaden Daniels throwing the pick going to be what kind of curved in the first half? Was it the pressure? I mean, the pressure could have definitely changed the game plan. They thought, man, we don't got no time in the pocket. We're going to have to just try to hit the hole and get some play action going. Could have been what it was. It was still the first half. It was still early. Whatever it was, though, it definitely had us stuck in the mud. The game was slow and rough at times.
And I was glad to see that touchdown though. That that gave me a little bit of motivation behind this.
I agree. Yeah, seeing the guys get in the end zone was exciting. Even seeing them get the big plays, get the fumbles, the turnovers, that was huge.
They had some gigantic defensive plays, man. Had me on the edge of my seat.
I think that my biggest play of the game will be the I think it's gonna be, man, what would you say?
Man, I'm thinking Perk 40 to seal the game.
Per 40 to seal the game. Trying to think of what my
Huge.
biggest moment of the game could be. Man,
There's so many to pick
the
from.
Keishawn Boutte moment was
That
pretty
came to my
big.
head too.
The
Yeah.
Keishawn Boutte moment almost sealed the deal right there. Let me think. We got the fumble, yeah, the Perk 40 fumble. So, there's a lot of great plays. You even got Josh Williams' breakaway run to completely just pop the lid off of what we thought was happening. I thought from then on LSU was going to be able to make something work and shake something into the end zone. But going forward, though, when LSU's playing, A&M, when they're playing Georgia, they're going to have to get started a lot sooner. LSU getting started in that offensive side especially, it seems like they just need to go through the motions a couple times.
I'm glad to know they have a game against UAB before going straight into A&M after this. I mean, a little tune-up game. Make sure they got everything down packed, and then they're gonna go into College Station and then show them stripes, man.
Yeah, College Station will be a big test too. I mean, it's another big SEC West game on the road. We got all our road games on the back end of the schedule. So after a rough road game here, hopefully, we don't have too late of a game in College Station where we can have that
Yeah.
12th man show up. That's a real deal thing with Texas. That 12th man shows up big time. I mean, we've seen this one of the times we went to A&M, we go to 7 overtimes.
That's the first thing that came to my head again, man. Think
So
about that shootout.
yeah, we got Zindel in the chat again talking about shootout. He's saying it's gonna be a slug fight against Georgia, and Bama needs to do their job. I agree, man. If Bama can do their job and put us in that situation, we're gonna be able to go toe to toe with one of the biggest teams in the country.
Definitely.
And I think that the Tigers are putting themselves in a good position to be able to take it home and bring the team out there. I really wouldn't have ever guessed that this is what Brian Kelly's first year would consist of.
It's true. Especially
Speculation.
after that first game, man.
Speculation on whether or not we're going to be conference champions in year one under BK. Great recruiting. Great. What a great come together to build this team out of the transfer portal. BK says they got a couple holes they left that they're still going to aim to fill in the transfer portal because he wants to build the team on
It's
freshmen like Perk 40, freshmen like Mason Taylor. They got a lot of big cats here that can come fill in shoes. A lot of guys who were last year just playing high school football, and they were already transitioning on a Power 5, not even just Power 5, SEC level. You're in the top 10 team of the country, playing other top 10 teams, knocking them off, eliminating playoff chances, and potentially into dynasties. These guys are doing their thing when it matters most, and LSU's looking red hot. I think if we get some more performances like this, if we're going to be able to, of course, smash UAB going this week, get some good grease under the wheel for that road trip once again. We're going to go to College Station, hopefully get that dub in front of the 12th man, hopefully not pulling Alabama and
Man.
rough one out. I do want to kind of dial back the time machine though. Last year we had a rough season. A rough season. We were wondering if we were going to be 500, and we needed just a big end of the year boost to kind of push us into bowl contention. And we had a home game, and we had an SEC West opponent get on the road and come down. That SEC West opponent was Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher, and we got the job done. So that is definitely in the back of their mind. It's definitely a rivalry that's getting developed. Jimbo and A&M need to turn the heat up the ante, and get out there and get going. So this could be the time where they get to prove that they're able to do that, and they could turn it up when it matters most.
That's scary to think about.
I'm not saying that I'm going to write LSU off. I'm just saying that I think that it is going to be a lot tougher of a game than people were thinking. I'm not saying it'll be a 2-3 point game, but there will be times where it'll be SEC West football. at the end of the day, we're not going to lose. I think we're going to be able to handle out, win out, go to the SEC title game. If you're asking me to put a pin in it, but I think that Texas A&M isn't going to be as easy as a test as people think. I think Texas A&M, especially if they're going to be able to put out guys that we've had experience with,
Yeah.
guys that know us, that have even potentially played with us, guys that have even been recruited by us. Like they know LSU, they know what we're doing. It's hard to kind of see the number 7 team in the country coming to your stadium and not get big eyed and want to take that moment
Right.
because
Right.
they were ranked, we were unranked, and we took them down. You know, we know all too well about seizing the moment. We got people in the chat asking Jaden Daniels, staying one more year or going pro. You know, this is an interesting question. I was talking about this earlier. I think that Jaden Daniels is great talent, and he definitely can transition well into this style of NFL. A lot of RPOs being implemented in the offensive schemes, a lot of mobile quarterbacks. I mean, if you look at Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, even Aaron Rodgers, they get mobile.
They're
They get
great.
outside.
I mean, great players in our league today for sure.
You have to evade pressure because pressure is gonna happen in today's game. You got guys like Aaron Donald, you got guys like Myles Garrett, even Mason Smith, big guys who can get active outside that edge and pressure a quarterback who can still run under a 5.0 40. So Jane Daniels has good good skills, good skill set. If he keeps developing that mind and keep winning the big games like he is, I think he can for sure get drafted this year. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's going to be top 3 rounds. He might fall late third,
Mm,
fourth, fifth round.
that
QBs,
yeah.
QBs, you got to think if you're going to take a shot on a QB, you're going round one. The QBs that we're going to see go round one will be your Bryce Youngs, will be your Quinn Ayers, will be your Stetson, Will Levis. They got a lot of guys that are going to go. And once you get those 5, 6 QBs go, Jane Daniels might have to wait a couple
Yeah.
days to hear his name called. So I
Which
think
is sad.
I think that you're gonna have to, if you're Jaden Daniels, you're gonna have to consider maybe seeing if you get
I definitely
another
think
year at
it'd give
Baton
him a lot
Rouge.
more time to develop.
It
I
would
mean,
give him a lot more time to develop, and it would make LSU a whole lot scarier. You got a lot of wide receivers coming in. You still got a lot of wide receivers already. The team's talented as can be. Jaden Daniels coming back, keeping that confidence, starting the year off strong. I think LSU could be in a good situation. I don't think it's impossible for Jaden Daniels to stay one more year. Quite frankly, the only people that I can see getting out of here for the draft would be like a Keishon Boutte and a BJ Ojolari. These guys their draft stocks are rising and they're ready to go perform. But at the end of the day, it's LSU. This culture, this school, a lot of ties, and there's a lot of deep roots and connections with these guys to the school. So they could pull a Dre Jenkins, or they could stay and
yeah,
feel the process out.
that'd definitely be good to see, man. I can't lie.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things to look forward to in the offseason if you're Brian Kelly. But right now, you want to keep all your focus on the SEC title game and the task at hand. Now, UAB, yeah, we're gonna get that one done. But you gotta turn the page and look at A&M. A&M going on the road. Little bitty test. We could clinch it right here if Bama wins, and we can just not even worry about it.
Would be nice. Would
I
be
think
nice.
that Bryce Young, we could go ahead and trust him to do something out here. Let's go ahead and take a little peep at the Alabama Mississippi game.
I
7 minutes
was sitting
left in
here
the
wondering
first,
this.
still tied at 0. Bryce Young 3 for 4, 18 yards going on. Jackson Dart 3 for 6, 32 yards. Jackson Dart and Bryce Young. I mean,
Good
what a
matchup.
what a great matchup. Two potential, at the beginning of the year, people were asking Heisman this, Heisman that. I was wondering if Jaden Daniels would pop into that category, and finally, I mean, he's getting that respect, and he's popping in, he's putting up great numbers. It's not necessarily going to be a lock for a finalist, but if he's going to go to the SEC title game and make some noise and have a couple, you know, 2 game, 11 touchdown strings again,
Right. You'd have to consider him, man.
it would definitely earn him some votes. I mean, if I was a Heisman voter, I know who my first place vote will go for. So I think Heisman, it's a college football MVP, and I think that Jaden Daniels has been the dark horse and the leading element as to why LSU has been able to go where they've gone. I
Right.
think that defensive line has done great as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Harold Perkins pull a Manti Te'o and get into the finalist category,
That
or a
would be
Tyrann
crazy. Is he
Matthew and get
true
into a
freshman?
finalist category. Not this year,
Oh,
but
okay,
in
okay.
his career. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
I just
definitely.
I just think that the Heisman, if you'd have to look for the MVP, would just go to Jaden Daniels because of what he's been doing in the face
Yeah,
of pressure and a new offense, running away from the
that
defenders,
is true. Had
getting
some
sacked
crazy big
7 times a
games.
game, still walking away. Yeah, I mean, he's had some crazy games, big moments. I mean, he's getting the final play call in his ear from upstairs from Mike Denbrock against Bama, and he's going to respond. I'm going to win the game. That's who I want starting. That's who I
He's
want
like that.
taking it home for us. He's got that mindset. He's got that skill set. and he's making it work. LSU's doing great. Y'all make sure to subscribe to the Vernon Verdict. We're going to be going live tomorrow night. We're going to recap what happened. We're going to decide if LSU was able to get it in. We're going to recap a lot of the NFL games going tomorrow as well, and just give some more LSU talk. Some more, I guess you can call it BS. I hope we can get Alabama getting it done. I'm going to go ahead and go tune into that game. Make sure to follow us. Links in the description, social media, at Vernon Verdict on everything. We're going to keep it going with the exclusive content. We're going to keep it going. Hopefully, we will be at the SEC title game this come December. Stay tuned for more exclusive coverage. Tomorrow, we'll be going live. Make sure to hit that notification bell when the stream gets scheduled. Look out for it on our social media. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.